This conference will now be recorded.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, but probably not.
I had to pick them all look at some of these people.
It's 5:30. Roll call.
Commissioner Ginger,
Here.
Commissioner Jennings,
Here.
Commissioner Rogers,
Here.
Commissioner Warren,
Here.
Mayor Stone.
Here. For those who would like to participate, we'll now have prayer and the pledge of allegiance.
Please join me in prayer. Our Father, we thank you so much for a day that you've given us, a beautiful day. We're thankful for the business of our city. Pray that you bless our commission, give them wisdom, that you be with each one that's here, and we have a good meeting this evening. We're reminded of the great blessings that you've given to us. We're thankful for your goodness to us. We're mindful today also that the greatest blessings come after we face and defeat our greatest challenges. Pray that you give us the ability to do that. We pray for our city workers, first responders. We pray for our citizens. We thank you for each one. Pray that we meet the challenges of the day, starting at this very time. Thank you for this time. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, Mayor, we do not.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda as written. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the agenda as written. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Proclamations.
Okay. Proclaim June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth National Independence Day 2023 in Arkansas City. And if Kamaya Cole, Linnea Cole, and Taraya Henderson would like to come forward, they're going to read the proclamation today. Yeah, the first two young ladies. Oh, they're not here? Okay, so Robin Henderson and Taraya Henderson and Sheree Capel. And Sheree Capel, okay, I'll get your name and get you a certificate.
Thank you all for allowing us to present the proclamation to the commission. Thank you all. So Troy, you want to start?
Whereas Juneteenth represents the first day of celebrating freedom in the United States for all Americans and the last known celebration for the ending of enslavement. And whereas the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed enslaved people living in the Confederacy, was enacted and took effect on January 1st, 1863. And whereas over 2 years later, on June 19th, 1865, the news of this freedom finally reached enslaved people living in Galveston, Texas. As those who were formerly enslaved were recognized for the first time as citizens, Black Americans came to commemorate Juneteenth with celebrations across the country, building new lives and new traditions that we honor today through storytelling, education, music, ceremonies, and celebrations.
Whereas Juneteenth is a day of profound weight and power, a long legacy of systemic racism, inequality, and inhumanity. But it is a day that also reminds us of the incredible capacity to heal, hope and emerge from the darkest moments with purpose and resolve. And whereas the history of Kansas as a free state emphasizes the value of justice, humanity, and the rejection of bigotry and oppression. And whereas the 99 years after the inception of Juneteenth, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and thereafter the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to guarantee all Americans their eligible rights. And
whereas in the ongoing national dialogue of the meaning of freedom, Kansas remained committed to ensuring the value and dignity of all people. And whereas the struggle for freedom and justice for all people must be continually remembered and waged. Now, therefore, the mayor of the city of Arkansas City, Kansas, does hereby proclaim June 19, 2023 as Juneteenth National Independence Day in Arkansas City, Kansas, and encourage all citizens of the city of Arkansas City to observe Juneteenth National Independence Day with the Cali County Juneteenth celebration and other appropriate ceremonies and activities.
so the ceremonies and activities, we are on our third annual Juneteenth celebration that we hold here in Cali County. This year is going to be held on Saturday, June 17th. We have events starting from 9 o'clock in the morning where we're having a housing and health event that's sponsored by Evergy and is made possible through KUMC, where we'll be sharing with the community about housing, landlord rights, equity, diversity, inclusion, and housing and how your housing can affect your health. That starts from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Northwest Community Center. But then we also have a family fun jamboree that's going on at Lovey Watson Park from 1 to 3 p.m. That is like water slides, face painting, snow cones, fun things for the entire family. And then we have our big celebration at Wilson Park from 4 to 9, where we have a music concert. We're bringing Everyday Band back. They were recently here at, no, not Everyday, Mo Flavor. We're recently here at the Burnford. And we're also bringing another band here and a gospel singer. And we have food trucks, vendors, and some more cultural aspects. The Buffalo Soldiers will be here doing a reenactment. And so we really want our community to come out and celebrate this independence of America for all of us. And thank you all for allowing us to be here. I have some flyers that I will probably just leave here for you guys to take, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. New business.
Okay, item number 1, a presentation provided by a local group of citizens on ideas for expanding the popular sport of pickleball in our Kansas City.
Stand up, pickleball players. Thank you, commissioners.
You do have the pointer if you'd like to use it, or you can just tell us either way.
All right, let's go to the next slide. And I'll give you a little history of pickleball, just to set the stage. This was invented in 1965. This is not a new sport, but it has been growing and growing and growing. It was developed in Washington State, and in 1972, it became a real thing. Arizona, California, Hawaii, Florida, it was spread across multiple states. It began on a badminton court. 3 kids trying to find something fun to do, bored, and they had a wiffle ball, and a ping pong paddle. And next thing you know, they're hitting the ball around and this thing began to evolve. Today, it's a big thing. I mean, this is a big thing. People are playing all over the world, all 50 states, 8,000 pickleball locations in the United States. It's governed by USA Pickleball Association. There's an International Federation of Pickleball, 58 countries. So this is not just a little game. It's got a funny name. Funny name. And I can tell you how that came about, but that's probably not important. We have LeBron James, several other NBA players that have invested money in professional pickleball teams. So, I thought it was funny that one of these 4 players made the statement, when I started playing pickleball, I immediately connected with the sports community and its capacity to be both fun and competitive. Carter told CNBC and then to see the sport growing in communities all over is really exciting. And we're looking forward to bringing our expertise together to try to build a championship team. Well, what I can take from that quote is it's both fun and competitive. We have a blast.
Absolutely, we do.
The friendships and the competitive part blend together in a crazy way. And so that's what pickleball is.
That's why they let me in, I'm crazy.
Yeah, he's the most crazy. Towns all over the country are converting tennis courts to play pickleball. It's athletic, it's social, it spikes in popularity in its infancy, and it's only going to get bigger. Highland Park, North Carolina completed 6 courts for $123,000, including removing old fence, old tennis courts, putting down a new gravel base, all these things to get a beautiful, beautiful facility. So I think it's affordable. As you can see on the next, what they do is a tennis court is split. That fence that you see, right through the middle would be the typical net, and courts on both sides are capable. So, and we'll talk about Wilson Park in a minute, but that can be done on a facility that we have. The other, these are, I'm sorry, the pictures are dark, but this is not just an old person's sport. Some of us are old. I'm not kidding you there. But we have kids, we have a handicap. This gentleman in the middle was playing with 3 others and having a great time.
You're doing fine.
Oh,
You're doing fine.
This guy in the middle, he was playing with 3 other players and having a heck of a good time. And these other 2 kids on the side, these are all 3 players in Winfield. And a father next to a son playing. So I think that's pretty important. The next slide is my man. This is the guy that brought pickleball to our city.
I played with him 6 months ago.
Yep.
He down there beat me.
He did beat you.
I know he did. It's embarrassing to get beat by a 97-year-old man.
Yeah. And, the next slide shows us the family of people. This is the indoor facility in Arc City, and this is where we go 3 days a week, and we play. We may have, 15, 16 people. We may have 25 people. We don't care. We had new people yesterday.
Yeah.
never played before.
They were Okies, but we let them play
Yeah,
anyway.
we brought them in. They had a great time. They were from Newkirk. And I think that's just what we do. We have, I don't know, we have people that play for 10 years. We have people that play for 6 months. And this is a sport that in, I don't know, a couple of days, you can play it. If you can't play it in 2 days, you probably shouldn't play it. But, and this is a group that played in Winfield. I mean, you can see, they're all, I mean, this is after 2 hours of play and we're still smiling, which is pretty incredible.
And what's amazing is they welcome us I mean, you feel so welcome when you go to Winfield and play all the time.
Mhm.
Just, they treat you like Winfield people, I guess.
So currently, where we stand today is in Arc City, we only have two options. We have an indoor in the rec center, which, we can talk about lighting and, some things there, but it's still a good place for us to go. We got 2 courts there. And some people, I don't know, I wasn't involved, but we marked out the courts in Winfield or in Wilson Park to play, but the court's not right. The surface is not right. The nets aren't right. And we'll talk about that. But that's what we have today. We have people going multiple times a week to Winfield to play their outdoors. But the problem that you have with outdoor tennis courts is the net's not right. So, and we have to address that. So my hope is that this presentation will start us thinking about what it would do, what we need to do to get, courts that are pickleball, position, the way that we need to be. We'd have to resurface the park. It could support 4 pickleball courts running in the same direction as the existing tennis ball courts. We need to provide netting, there's several things that we have to do, but we could make that a beautiful facility. Pickleball nets are about 4 inches lower than a tennis ball net. So you just can't make a tennis court into a pickleball court by marking it a little different. There's more to it than that. The court dimensions are 20 feet by 44 feet with the whole diameter of the court 30 by 60. So you can get 4 courts on Wilson tennis court. You can leave the tennis nets as a barrier between the 2 courts, and that could work. Right now, we have people from Winfield, Newkirk, Mulvane, Derby, even travelers. We have a lady that comes from Florida to see her mom, that when she comes, she plays here. We have a railroader that comes in to town, and when he comes in, he plays. So this can bring some revenue to our town, and definitely, something that we should look at. The new pickleball courts at Albright Park in Winfield. That project, and I've done a lot of research with them. This is about a $195,000 project. They did it right, no question about it. There's lights, there's all of the great fencing, there's sun screens, wind guard, and it's a beautiful facility. So that's kind of the standard that we want to try to get to. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes.
I think we can. They found that they got a grant of about 80,000. They had their rec center donated about 40,000. They did have about 100,000 of private donations. So, I mean, and this number has been updated. It's more closer to 200,000. And there's some things that we could cut out, no question, but to be a top-notch court with 4 courts, we're talking about 200,000.
It has bathrooms too, but the city donated that.
Yeah.
The city.
This doesn't include bathrooms and.
Yeah, the city did that, so.
Yeah. So that's the pitch. But I would like to invite my good friend, the man that brought this to Stark City, to talk to you a little bit about the passion of why pickleball makes sense to him. Come on up, if you can.
Well, 6 months ago, he beat me.
Well, good evening. And I'm glad. I'm 98 years old, and I'm hoping to get back into pickleball. I don't know if I'll make it or not, but I got hopes. And one thing about pickleball is a variation of age. We have players down there 15 years old. We got one player 90, well, he's 98 now. And I love the game. And Winfield has 4 courts outdoors. And it's a really nice facility. And there's only one thing wrong with the pickleball courts in Winfield. They're not
in Arc City.
Yeah. They're not here.
I'm asking you to come forth with some money and try to emulate Winfield. But it's truly a great sport. And I hope one of these days I can be playing again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here are presentations. You have those. Sorry, I didn't do that earlier.
It's like that old Field of Dreams. You build them courts. People will come.
Couple of,
Kids will play.
envision you should break this in with Arkalala like it is in cornhole tournaments and stuff.
You have heck of a
They're money making items.
couple of thoughts, and you put your cost estimates down. I didn't understand what you said, resurfacing the courts. I mean, I don't know what kind of equipment that would involve. I mean, do you have details in here about what it would take? And the other thing is that there's already lighting at Wilson Park. Is that not would that not be adequate for?
There's no lighting at this point. There's electricity to the facility, but I think the reality is that we're going to have to resurface. We're going to have to take the whole court down to a base level and start from the ground up. I think the city estimated about $25,000 to do the resurfacing.
Yeah, but that was just more of the resurface. That wasn't like taking down the concrete that's there. It was resurfacing it. And, yeah, and painting for.
You're not taking down
And we're looking at trying to find grant money too.
concrete, you're not
Can we-
taking down the concrete.
You know, there's grant money out there that we're hoping. talked to RDX, his wife writes grants and, you know, about getting some grant money too.
Is this open, what do you call it?
Well, we're trying to get
Public
some,
hearing, or are we?
no, we're trying to get some questions going so we can ask them some questions. Say, we want to.
Okay.
So my first.
If I win the lottery, you don't have to worry about it.
Can you mind if, can you go ahead and complete what your thought was, Mr. City Manager?
No,
I'm sorry, I'm talking to the city manager.
Okay.
He was sharing some information about what development was in his.
So, yeah, I met with Tony and a group over there at the Wilson Park tennis courts here a while back. And they need to be resurfaced and for about $25,000, I believe was the number Tony had come up with, that could be resurfaced. And then they could be restriped with the pickleball courts, with the 4 courts that we talked about. And then there'd be a little extra expense with nets and things like that. So for about that price, you could get it up and going. But, you know, that's in that location. And if you were to build new courts in a different location, then we're looking more at that, you know, close to that $1,000 mark.
We got about 14,000 at Wilson Park. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little under 15,000 in the Friends of Wilson Park. And the other thing about that is that there could be some donation. That could be a way to do some fundraising to bring in additional dollars if we want to do something even better.
Okay.
Because they could donate to the Friends of Wilson Park, which would be earmarked to pickleball or whatever, and then. Yeah.
And then they could be able to donate off their.
Those are tax, yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the discussion is that most of this can be done in-house. No? Well, that's.
We won't live on courts. I'll talk to you.
It takes, you gotta have the diamond blade grinder to grind down the old paint off of those tennis courts and strip them. And the guy that does it is out of Wichita. I can't remember his name right now, but they also did the courts in the Ag Building. Same company, same people that did the courts out at the high school tennis courts.
It's Darren Snyder.
Yes, Mr. Snyder and his father. They do the courts. But he said the estimate goes anywhere from 12 grand if the court can just be scraped, filled in, and repainted, up to 25,000 to be stripped and completely redone. So, depends on the damage of the court.
I will say that Winfield, they had to completely demolish a cement slab and start from scratch. So that 160 or 190,000, whatever the number really finally become, that was just dirt, you know, from dirt up.
And let me apologize, Madam Mayor. I'm not trying to be the meanie up here, but since it is a formal city commission meeting and it's being broadcast, it's kind of hard to have a lot of voices coming from out there with no faces and things like that. So I was just trying to kind of pull us back to like one talking at a time, and so that anybody that might tune in can understand what's being said.
And I assume we'll have some discussion on this in one of our work sessions.
Well, yeah.
I would like to see us get a bid on what's going to cost to strip that out. So we at least get a start of what it's going to cost, you know, for that, you know, whether it's 12,000 or 25,000. I mean, we at least get that going and see what's going to cost. And we're in our budget hearing right now going forward. And that's what we need to be talking about, you know, but we need to get that cost down, you know, fairly soon. So we'll know what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I crafted 3 questions and you guys have answered 2 of them between staff and the pickleball advocacy here. But the last one that I had that I thought you might have some thoughts about is whether or not the local pickleball community would support something like a new Chili's restaurant here for your out-of-town guests to come in and dine. That was a commercial, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, pickleball is a huge sport. My 10-year-old plays, my wife and he just went out the other day and played it. It's a growing sport. It can be literally played all ages. I mean, if they can,
Absolutely.
it's a fun sport. There's a lot of guys that said, man, I'd rather go play pickleball for 2 hours and chase myself running in a circle on a track. I mean, that's just, it is a growing sport. I've had people my age ask in the last year or two, can the Arc City do anything? What do you think could be done? So I know even my generation is wanting to do something. I agree with Jay. I think we know what we're looking at before we just dive in. It'd be nice to kind of get some cost ideas of what we're doing. But I mean, it is growing. There are a lot of communities and a lot of people out there investing in this sport. I mean,
If it continues growing, we could eventually look into maybe something like what Winfield's done later on. At least if you kind of jumpstart you right now that we've got a facility right there and see what's going to cost to get it going, shouldn't take a whole lot of money. Just at least get that part of it going and maybe look for grants down the road and stuff. We might want to look for another site, somewhere if it continues to grow.
And we could look at Winfield's primal effort and
Yeah.
make a more finished product here in our Kansas City.
I mean, it'd be nice. I agree. It'd be nice to get something going, and whether it just be the courts painted, nets up, wind breaking, and then later get lights and get some other stuff, some shade, because it does get hot out there playing in the summer.
I got a question.
Shade would be nice too, but you are at the park, so that's nice.
I got a question. You said Winfield's rec center gave money to it, raised money. Are you with our city rec center? Or are you out? Are you?
No,
Okay.
I'm almost new to Arc City myself.
Well, it might be something you guys might want to talk about to start your own organization through the rec center where they can do what Winfield did to help raise money. That's a thought.
Well, Rec Center has done us well letting us play over there, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know. But so many of you used to start your own association. That's a whole different ballgame.
If you reach some of those courts, you're gonna have a waiting line of people wanting to play, I guarantee you.
Winfield does not have an association, just make clarification. It was a donation.
Speaking.
Who are you, please, so we can get for the,
Gail Ranger, non-congruent.
Okay.
okay.
And she plays in Arc City.
One more.
We had Dave Schmeichel. We had a guest priest here. He said his connection to Arc City was that his nephew or grandson, not grandson, but nephew is from Arc City and is the #1 ranked pro player of pickleball right now. And that is, I can't remember the priest's name. All I know is I had to do the lecture and he said, whatever you want to do, do. So I said, okay. But he said his connection to Arc City is that his nephew is the #1 pro player. And they do rankings now. There's a ranking system.
There's national championships and world championships now. There's college sports for it now.
Now,
I think there's going to be a Olympics. Somewhere they're talking about Olympics down the road.
Actors and sort of investing in pickleball clubs.
The Olympics are next.
I mean, I'd like to see something move forward with it. I know we can't just jump in right now, but we need to get a budget. We need to get something going before we just say yes and open up a can before we know whether we need new concrete or just resurface. I mean, but I think Wilson Park's a good starting point of location, and I mean, that may turn into just the best location for it in general. So
Will you allow us to come back in 30 days with details?
Yes, sir.
On
Yes, sir.
yeah, I say that.
I think we're going to get the details, aren't we? Or are we?
I think.
Courts, the fencing, and those wind barriers, because I mean, that ball, if it's a windy day, that ball will
Yeah.
affect. I mean, those little wind barriers are kind of.
Madam Mayor, I think maybe the disposition of the governing body here is that perhaps they could continue to dialogue
Right.
with the city manager. And of course, we welcome you to come, excuse me, I'm sorry. We welcome you to come back, but to connect with him, and that links us up with staff and things like that, so that we can get a more refined cost and see the impact of it. But it sounds like you're not getting a resounding no from this panel. We just need a little more
more information, please.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll get it done in the next 3 days, get the costs in and stuff. And because we're working on our budget right now, we need to get that so we can get it figured in our budget.
That's ambitious.
Tiffany,
Well, I mean, it can be done.
Yeah.
let's move forward, please.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Do you want me to leave the light on?
No,
No.
oh, you can turn it back on. I was gonna fall asleep.
Item number 2, a resolution authorizing the rescheduling of a public meeting of the governing body from 5:30 PM on Tuesday, July 4th of 2023 to 5:30 PM on Wednesday, July 5th, 2023.
I'm assuming no one wants to come in on July 4th for a meeting. So would the next day work for you all?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. City Manager Department?
So this, the next one up will be Tony.
Yeah, it's Public Services Department. That is wrong on that. I did. So this is a resolution authorizing the city of Arc City to enter into an agreement with Neil Buildings to build a 24 by 10 by 8 restroom at Pershing Park for $16,300.
Mr. Sheriff, the restrooms have been on the list for at least 10 years that I'm aware of. But this is a really good deal Mike Neal's put together for us. It's similar to the one at Wilson Park without the storage facility in the back. I've spoke with the park supervisor, Connie Moore, and we want to go with steel instead of the cinder block and stuff, just to make it quick and easy, keep it under budget. Also, we're going to heat these year round, so we're going to go with electric heaters versus gas. Just because we have electricity right in the back there. The drop's just no more than 30 feet away, so that'd be a lot better for us. These restrooms can stay open year round. Pershing Park is used quite often in that neighborhood there when the parents don't want to go to Wilson or in one of the other parks there. It gets a lot of softball practice, t-ball practice, things like that. Some soccer, but not much by certain age groups. But it is used by a lot of the neighborhood parents that take their grandkids and kids over there to play. And it's in bad need of a restroom instead of the old porta potties that are there. So the location would be right in the center of the park by the pavilion. And I think this is a real good deal. This is just for the shell of the bathroom. The Parks Department will complete the interior work, which I'm guessing roughly is going to be around another $8,000 or so for everything we want to do with it. We have some electric panels for breaker boxes and such, and meter casings and everything that we can use, conduit, all that stuff will be done in-house. The sanitary sewer will be done in-house with the park guys and the sewer division. So I think this will be the best bet for our buck. And hopefully the next one will be at Lovey Watson Park to go for the Juneteenth celebration that is taking events there. And, it is growing in that area as well. So we need to get a restroom over.
And that's a budget item in your deal?
Yes. Yeah. 20,000 budgeted for this year.
Is this Neal company a local company?
Yes, Mike Neal. He's right over there on Madison and 8th Street.
Just wanted that to be clarified. It's local.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't he the same one doing the canopy for the bookmobile for the public library?
I have no idea. I know he's a busy man. He said he'd squeeze us in.
You have a start time?
As soon as we okay it. Can't start with that.
I'd like to make a motion. I can't force it. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we authorize the city of Arkansas City to enter into an agreement with Neal Buildings to build a 24 by 10 by 8 restroom at Pershing Park, not to exceed $16,300.
Second.
A second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
You got till 8 o'clock in the morning, game start.
Yeah.
I'm going to start tomorrow, right?
Okay. Items for discussion by city commissioners. I want to be the first one to bring some things up tonight. I had a gentleman that has a mini truck. He told me that he was not going to register his mini truck because the state of Kansas had already agreed to let him drive it on the streets. So I looked up that. It's not really clear what it says. So
I think it is clear what it says, Madam Mayor, if I may. He is right. The state has said certain things, but if you look at the end of what the state says, it says cities can make an ordinance, and as you all did. So I think that's part maybe might be missing.
well, I kind of told him I thought city took precedence over this, but I needed somebody that has authority saying that to me.
I think we have home rule authority where we can make ordinances that govern conduct in the city.
And then we don't even need home rule here.
Okay.
With all due respect, I mean, but you're all correct, because it's the ability to drive one or not drive one is statutory. And so is the ability for the city to supersede what the state did.
All right. The other question is, Ricky Hayes' contract was up in March and we haven't heard anything, rather what we were supposed to do about it. Here it is, June already, but we only okayed it for another 3 months. So we need some sort of feedback on that. So was his contract renewed for another 3 months or?
No, it hasn't been renewed yet, so.
Okay. All right. That's what I have. Anyone?
I got something on the Wilson Park. I talked to Ken about some the other day about maybe getting the Boy Scouts to paint some of that burnt spot there at the Wilson Park. I don't think it'd take but a couple of gallons of paint, but maybe have the Boy Scouts where they work in some of their, their, call it,
Civic hours.
yeah, civic duty type thing. So
Part of the park is talking about painting.
Sir, you need to come forward to speak to us.
well, it's kind of the burnt part of it. It's a couple of citizens tell me about it when at Takalala, it didn't be touched up because it's kind of, it doesn't look good, stuff. So.
Where's it at?
Damage to the facility?
Well, it's where I guess where they had that fire or something, and they, what that one lady said. We can take a look at it and see.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
On the thing, while we're trying to spruce up, build new, attract more people, I did want to express a concern about what looked like a budding small business on the corner of 4th Street North and Radio Lane. The storage buildings or shelters that are there, they graded that out and made it look like kind of an attractive lot with gravel. But I noticed going by there the last few days that I know we've had a lot of rain recently, but we've got the grass probably minimum.
It's taken over the gravel.
Yeah, and it's minimum waist high around. It's hard to even see the buildings from the street. I don't know who. I thought that was local owned, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong. My wife's told me I've been wrong before.
I think there's a company out of Kentucky that owns that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's along to the Neighborhood Services Department, have them take a look at that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We don't have anyone here that can answer this question, but I was wondering how the gentleman down on First Street that was supposed to be doing things to his house, I drove by there the other day and it looks worse than it did. So we need to look at it again.
I would say we need to probably ask Mike Bellis to communicate that with us at a work session is what I would do.
Anything else from commissioners?
Well, yeah, I had a couple of things, but one, do we have any type of ordinance? I know we have. I remember Joel Hockenberry saying, I can't believe we're having a meeting about this, but we had an ordinance about dogs and leashes, but what about cats? I mean, if you drive down the street, there are cats everywhere. And just in a short 4-block period of time, I counted about 30 cats. And talked to people, oh, you know, they have a litter under my deck every year, or they have a litter over here. Do we have anything? We have nothing at all.
Are they citizens' cats, or are they just feral cats or cats running around?
Well, they
I mean,
said.
if they're not citizens, it's going to be hard to do it other than call the animal control.
Right, but, and they said, well, it's not really my cat. It just came by. And so I don't know. They said there are a lot of them in the storm drain. Is there a way to kind of check and see if we've got a lot in the storm drain? Because I have no idea. But you see them run down along with possums and other animals, skunks, and they head down to the storm drains. So I don't know. We don't have any kind of cover plates on there, you know, on most of them, so that the water can get in, but not the animals. I don't know. Just something that was brought to me.
I know this has been brought up in another community I've been in, and it's a problem in almost every community.
Is it? Okay.
It's kind of hard to deal with. But that's the only, and there may be other solutions, but the only solution I really heard communities doing is where they kind of capture them, neuter them, spay them, and then release them type things. But then there's expense to that as well. So that's not a cheap venture either. So.
Well, maybe we could have a day of it. Okay.
If I may, we do have an ordinance on at-large that includes cats.
We do? Okay.
So if the owner owns them, they are not to let them run at large. But that's the only thing I've found.
That's the key, if they're owned.
If they're owned, and that's difficult to, because when they get picked up, it's a huge sometimes expense for them to get them back. But sometimes it is the expense of getting them spayed or neutered that stops that from happening. Like, well, I just can't afford it. And so maybe if we had some sort of deal, we could.
August City.
Come forward.
Your name, please.
Kim Young, 820 South First. Ponca City recently done a free spay and neuter for cats. People were picking up cats in the feral program. Every cat that got spayed or neutered got their ear tipped. It wasn't, if it's your cat, it still got its ear tipped, just to say it has been spayed and neutered as the catch and release program. I don't know how they funded that because it is really expensive. But that may be something that we can all check into because I mean, every town has a cat problem, but without the cats, we're going to have a rodent problem too.
I mean, part of it, I think, goes back to the owner's responsibility. If there are cats out at large and they're not keeping it in or they're not getting it neutered, then, I mean, that's kind of the own responsibility of owning an animal. You got to feed it, you got to take care of it, and you got to be responsible for it. So they can't, if they're getting an animal and they can't spay it or neuter, they can't pick it up after it's been picked up, then, I mean, it's your responsibility when you sign up or pick one up and buy one. So.
That is, but I mean,
and the ones that are at large, if there's no one's owner, then, I mean, we're going to have to do what we can financially, but that's, again, a budgeted item. We're going to have to figure out where we get the funds to take care of it. So
I just wanted to say thank you. I don't know how they done it, but they done it.
Great. Comments from the audience? Do we have people signed up?
So we have one that has not spoke, that did sign up. So Ken Harder. Harder. He would like to come forward and just.
In Blackwood, we're taking, they were busy for 7 days. There's articles all over about it.
Evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners.
I wanted to bring to your attention tonight. This all started back in December last year, work session on truck signage, fines, increasing the size of the barred sign. And then the commission meeting, it was brought up, and this commission authorized these gentlemen to carry it out, to increase the fine, increase the signage to get the truck drivers' attention. I don't want to see truck drivers coming on the First Street off Kansas. School times, those kids are there over mornings, afternoons. Last Friday, Evergy had a big truck in front of my place. Semi come off of Summit through the Y across Kansas to come into that store in front of me. He couldn't get in there. He had traffic blocked back up to Kansas, traffic from the south. That driver had to move that truck, Evergy truck, so they could get in. That's why I brought this to your attention last December. In January, you authorized them to make some changes. Come April of this year, nothing had happened. I come before this commission again. And Commissioner Warren tasked the city manager to increase the fine. Madam Mayor, you asked the city manager here, I'm sorry, city attorney, city manager to increase the sign. So last week I got 2 little signs that says fines strictly enforced. The sign above it with the circle and the red bar is still the small sign. If you look directly north across Kansas Avenue into that Y when you're going north and come to a stop at Kansas, there's 2 big do not enter signs. That gets your attention. Let me read you something from the state. This is the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas towns and cities. Article 4, traffic signs, signals, and markings, section 12, obedience to and required traffic control devices. I want you to listen carefully to this. No provision on this ordinance for which official traffic control devices are required shall be enforced against an alleged violator if at the time and place of the alleged violation an official device is not in proper position and sufficiently legible to be seen by any ordinary observant person. This was the whole deal of increasing these signs to be at least as large as them do not enter signs. And I was real disappointed last week when I seen those 2 little signs put up for the fine. I was hoping, may I approach? I was hoping to see a fine on there, 200, 400, 500, whatever it's going to be, to show, to get their attentions and then strictly enforced. Again, I tell you, this has gone on in the 6th month. You've already tasked this to be done by staff. And here I am tonight bringing this to your attention. I really can't say much else. Guys, if I said what I want to say, I might get in trouble, so I better stop right there. Do you have any questions for me?
No. Did we have a problem with putting a sign up before they entered the Y, entered that Y right there where we had?
I don't know. So Chief Bird, I know you guys, you and Tony, were going to work on locations. So on locations, where all did you go with signs? Do you remember?
Yeah, so that was something that we've been communicating back and forth about. So I can't attest to what signs are placed where, because we don't create the signs. That would be Mr. Tapia takes care of those, and he actually goes out and hangs those signs. All I can do is make the recommendation on placement of those kind of things.
So what is the fine for the truck? $200 or $300? What is it?
It's a step fine.
It is.
It's 100 first offense.
And I brought that to the commission some time back. I don't think that he was here. and you all decide to go with the signs as it is, there's.
Beat that step.
Steps.
Third offense is only 200 even after 3 offenses.
And if you recall, that was, when we brought it before you guys decided to leave it to where it was at, currently at the steps.
May I speak again? You have 2 signs at that Y, one on each side. That's what needs to be there when they try to enter at Kansas, off of Kansas on the first. They need to be 2 at least that size, barring them from coming in, telling them they can't enter there. I have some other things that's off of the city's ordinances. I'm not going to take time to read them all to you, but one of them is about trucks making deliveries on, if they can't make it off of the truck route. Summit Street and that opening into that store, and everybody but the Family Dollar truck, all these other vendors that come every week, and there's at least 4 of them that are semis besides the Family Dollar truck, can come off Summit, and they deliver every product they deliver through the front door, not the back door. They don't have to come in and unload at that back door.
Am I mistaken? Doesn't it say you're not supposed to enter through that?
Yeah.
Through the back there?
And when they come in, Chief Burr helped get this for me. There's a do not enter sign, bold as brass. But, I'm not here we want to write tickets to all these truckers. No, that's not my point of view. My point of view is get them big signs up there, get their attention. And I know they can read and they can see if you get it up there large enough. And if you still have habitual violators every week, Chief Burr says, give him a call. His officers are out next to my house at least once a week, if not twice a week, on calls to those apartments. I've spoken to several of his officers. They'll work with the truckers. They want to work with the truckers to deal with it. And they spoke real kindly about it. I was impressed. But you got to get the signs up there first. You got to get the amount on there to get their attention. Guys, I don't know what else I can say. Yeah. And this don't cost money. You're not asking for $100,000, $50,000. The city makes their own signs. You've told us several times in meetings, they make their own, print their own signs down there. Let's get together on this and let's get those signs made. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry it's taken so long.
So I guess the signs are there, so how big do you want them? I guess that's the next.
Well, same size, what they are.
Go the other direction.
Going the other direction. So, and what fine do we want to put on them?
Well, I
think that was
We already did that.
that's already been, we had to change our ordinance, wouldn't we? We'd have to change something on that.
Yeah, the decision was to leave the ordinance alone, and so the only way you could put a number on there was to say fine strictly enforced, because it's a graduated. Each offense, if you get caught once, it's 100, twice, it's this, 3 times this, so you can't have, you'd have a billboard out there if you had all those on there, so.
Well, and I did talk. I'm sorry.
I've been reading through the ordinances and the state laws. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the city can change that if they have the desire to do it.
Change what, sir?
The fine.
Yeah, they considered that and decided to leave it to where it was at. They already did.
Is that what this commission decided?
We decided to leave it the same because it was graduated. But now, if we can't put a number out there, maybe that's, why couldn't you use the word beginning at $100?
You can. You could.
We have to get there.
I mean, you can if you do it, but then that's
the more you.
The issue with putting a number on it then is if you change his ordinance later, you then have to go back and change the sign with the number. So if you put the fines enforced, whatever the fine is, you can put it. I mean, you put beginning at, but then what if that beginning at number changes to another number? Then you got to change the sign again to do it. I think that the bigger sign should be put there, just strictly enforced. If they say they didn't see it, well, how do you not see it when you have these big do not enter signs and that right? I mean, it's all right there to be seen. I mean,
If you change the amount to find now, you won't have to worry about updating later.
or I mean, 10 years we may, 20 years from now, then it's another sign. I mean, it may be. Well, I mean, so.
We do have the option of saying first offense.
Yes, $100.
This is the fine, which then implies a second offense or
Yeah.
a later offense. They have every reason to expect an escalated fine.
Yeah.
That might be a way to handle that. I'm not sure. I mean, are there other places where we have a traffic control signage where we list the monetary fine for, do we do that some places and not in others, or what?
I'm not aware.
I'm not aware of any place we do that.
I mean, so I think obviously, I mean, yeah, does it need to be a 6-month protracted process? No, but I think we're learning some things here, and I don't have any recollection as a lifer here, 1960 to now, of driving around the city and seeing any other traffic offense signs that say that stipulate the fine. So we're learning something here. So some of this, it has gone from you to us, to staff to us, and back out, to the departments, whoever needs to. The chief has had input, Public Works has had input, city attorney's had input. So we kind of work through this process, but I don't think it's something that's a canned thing. So I think we've given some input. They've had some input. We've talked through this. Could we have done it faster? Of course, but.
Have you seen other highway signs that state fines? I see
We do see
signs
those.
for $500 if I throw something out on the highway.
You're correct.
This is a semi truck when children walk through there, and that is a bad corner, and I think it needs to
Thank
be
you.
properly
Okay.
addressed.
So what we don't want to do is we don't want to mix what you see on KDOT or U.S. Department of Transportation signage for the interstate highways and things like that. They have protocol, and they do that. Obviously, theirs is the same. You're talking about children. They're talking about road construction workers and their safety also. So the understanding and the urgency, or at least the priority to it, is clear. It's just taken some iterations. It turns into one more question. What do we do here? How do we do that? And so I think we're really close to it. And I think the best thing of all is that your recurring visits here on the topic help keep us on
6
point.
months, that's quite a while for signs. I will make that last comment.
Yeah.
I will say also that part of it was, this was not in a vacuum by itself. In order to change that, would change the entire comp fee schedule, and there were other things that were going into that schedule at the same time. So that was the biggest part of the delay.
Right.
And I saw that through my research. But I still think you can split that off into a different area for a certain situation. Yeah, they've got that lumped into a bunch of it under traffic violations.
But let me ask you this question. If we made that sign bigger, which needs to be the same size going up there, and put the fines heavily, strictly enforced, just put that on there to see what happens. Does that make any difference or not? I mean,
What you can do to get their attention until you have to start writing them a ticket. And I hate to see that happen till they've had a chance.
yeah.
That sign that's up there now with the bar in it, I had suggested back in the work session in January, reprint that one with your language on it
Yeah.
about the fines. And I had a little humor there, you see.
I saw that.
We were trying to figure out the.
That was a little humor on my part.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Manager.
Okay. So the hike bike trail is now moved to a September bid letting. I think there was some railroad right-of-way issues that KDOT discovered as they're doing their plan review. So it's back a little bit further. The 15th Street Bridge is coming along. They've got the pilings almost driven in, and There's welders on site, and so everything looks good there, like it's moving forward on time. Truck stop project, they're still working through with the architect on the plans for the site. We should see some 3D plans next week to kind of get an idea what it's going to look like. And the wastewater treatment, or the wastewater sewer line design is still working there with Chris Mining on it. And hopefully next week we'll have some finished designs on that. The Madison Sea Cliff mill and overlay got delayed, so it's back, going to be back a month or two. So hopefully done by August. And some good news, we got our EMC rebate check in today, and it was $41,925. So that's nice to get that back. And the wastewater treatment plant project is moving along pretty well. They got the second lid on the second digester. They're going to be moving sludge from one over to the other pretty soon. They got a little bit of pipe work to do in the other digester, and then they'll start working on the flame to burn off the gases. And we've got the documentation into the KDHE to allow us to do the bypass, and we're waiting to hear back from them as whether they're going to let that happen or not. So
I'm going to pass, since we moved away from commission concerns, I'm going to pass this down and Bob too. Curiosity. I don't know if there's anything, updates on those.
Okay.
It's the last two.
So on the traffic control study for the schools, so that's at KDOT now. We got the draft in from the engineer, and they've sent to KDOT for their final approval and suggestions. And so I haven't heard back from them on that yet. And I'm not aware of a time frame on the hospital repayment, the loan. I know they were waiting on their tax credits to come in, and I haven't heard anything on that. I think originally when the loan was made, we were talking the June, July timeframe. So I think we're still within that timeframe. So I don't know if the commissioners that are on the hospital board have any updates on that, but.
No, we got two. That's what we got too, June and July.
June
or July.
Okay, that's what you got from the Internal Revenue Service, June or July?
They're running 6 to 9 months behind.
Yeah. The company that did our tax for us, the Internal Revenue sent a copy to them, and we got a copy of that. That'd be for somewhere between June and July.
June and July.
Or July.
Okay, well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
good to know that there isn't any other
That's
hiccup that says, oh, it's going to be 3 more months or whatever. That's, I guess that's always a good thing. Still on schedule is a good report, as well as we got it back. I mean, but thank you.
That's all I've got.
Anything else to come before the commission?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
So is our meeting